Okay. So my task is simple, just to say a little bit about the project, how we got to where we are. And then Dr. Shalemi, I think, is quite fitting to tell the story because he has been at with the project from the beginning. So if anyone knows the story from soil science to scaling up and where we go next, it would be Dr. Shalemi. I came to the project some 7 years ago when the College of Pharmacy and Nutrition became a part of the project. So I can just tell half of the story. So I think if it's next year will be 20 years, it makes sense that he tells you the story. So what we're going to talk about, he will talk a little bit about the collaboration and the previous and what we've done that has led to this state, a little bit about the targets and our scaling up strategy, some of the innovations. Time will not allow us to tell you everything. We are not planning to within 20 minutes. But as we go through the next day, today and the next day, you will hear from different actors within the story, and hopefully we might be able to put the picture together. So why Ethiopia? Part of the story goes where two soil scientists some years ago got together and they said, for us to do good work, we need to do something about the soil. And I think part of that was because agriculture is really one of the principal sources of revenue in Ethiopia. And attached to that is the fact that with over 1 million per population, that unfortunately Ethiopia is one of the most what is the word I'm looking for here? Insecure, unsecured countries in the world. And of course, you can see that a number, large percentage, are below the poverty line, and 29% here in Canada would be 29% of 33 million, but we're talking 100,000. So that's a large group, right? And so because of that, then we realize that it is time to do something in Ethiopia. Part of the challenge with Ethiopia also, one of the first things that I noticed when I went there is that there were little children, babies like this, who were 2 years old, right? And they couldn't walk. And the mother was saying, I've given them enough to eat, and yet they're not growing. Part of it is that they're getting the calories because it's a cereal based economy, but they weren't getting the nutrients, the protein, the iron, the zinc, and so forth that was going to do it. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about the hidden hunger. It's also important to mention that undernutrition worldwide has made some dent, right? So things are not as bad. One of the books that I was reading said, we've gone from 2 billion to 1 billion, and that probably does. If you're hungry, then you're saying, what about me? But things are moving in the right direction, and that's encouraging. The other thing that is encouraging, especially in Ethiopia, is that you do have a government that is very interested in seeing things go to the right direction. So the government has, as Dr. Shemelis will tell you, the National Nutrition Program and a number of very good innovations that are there that are beginning to make a difference in terms of addressing the issues of undernutrition in Ethiopia. This is one of my favorite food. If you can see down the bottom, some people don't like it, but in that plate there is injera. It's made from teff. We can now find it in a few of our specialty stores, but Ethiopia was where I was introduced to it. The thing with that, though, if you're able to afford that plate to the right, am I right? Yes. It has meats on it. It has a base, which is that injera. It has meats. It has vegetables. It has beans, right? So it's a really, really, really tasty dish. If you can't, though, you probably are just going to have the injera and you're not going to get the kind of diet diversity that we're looking at. So why now? Despite the fact that pulse is eaten in Ethiopia, that pulse is eaten across Africa, if you notice, it's still a small amount. And it's not unlike Saskatchewan, where we export a lot of our pulse, chickpeas and lentils, but we don't eat it. And part of the dilemma for that is we don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to cook it. Some of us who come from countries where pulse is a big thing, like Latin America and the Caribbean, we're used to cooking our Sunday dinners with pulses. Not everybody does. And so all of us are on this journey to learn how to cook it, what to do with it, to also how to feed it to the children. So instead of giving them porridge that's just made of wheat or cornmeal or maize, we are now saying add a little pulse to it. Add some chickpea flour, add some lentils, and that's going to improve the protein quality of that meal. And that's the kind of thing that we're beginning to do. And mothers are saying that if you can help them, if you help them with some very simple recipes, if you help them to understand the benefit of it, they will use it. So those are the good news. Why pulse? Well, health-wise, it used to be called a poor man's food, so very few people liked it. Today, though, we know that it has the key minerals, we know that it has the phytochemicals, we know that it's high in protein, it's rich in complex carbohydrates, it's high in fiber, and so for diabetics, this is a big thing. There are quite a bit of research that's now beginning to look at glycemic index and what that is doing for diabetics. We know also that it's good for gut health. And so we're beginning to see that pulse has moved from in the kitchen, where it's eaten quietly, to right in front of the dinner table, because it's beginning to make a difference. But Dr. Shalemi will tell you that it's more than just health, right? So it's for the feed, it's for the soil, nitrogen fixation, and so forth. There are a number of other benefits to pulse that we're excited about. This year is the International Year of Pulse, and so that has been a boost for every study that's about pulse, and we thank the United Nations for that. But we also thank publications like this with the Lancet that talked about child nutrition and the importance of focusing on those first 1,000 days of life. Because you see, if you were to focus on those dates, then you're likely to get children who are healthy, who are going to be productive member of society. If you focus on the adults, they're so harder to change their ways. But if you can teach the children, you're in a better position to see things happen. You're going to hear about pulse-based processing, because I think this is one of the areas that we're excited about. We're excited about production, but I think we're excited about the processing aspect and what the potentials are for the market. When we started to talk about pulse-based processing and what the potential are for the market, we're talking about snacks, we're talking about flours. Now when I go to Costco's, there's so much of it, right? It's become a big thing. But we're excited about the new varieties that we're using, of course, and what the potentials are for that. And in Ethiopia particularly, we're excited because we're seeing great things that are happening when mothers are able to combine pulse, small amount of that, with cereal, and to see the differences. One mother said, "My children has good face, good blood. Things are making a difference." And so we're excited about what that can do. What do we want to achieve ultimately? I think the goal is to see some happy children, is to see happy mothers, is to really see that we're making a difference when it comes to improving foods and nutrition security in southern Ethiopia, but also in other areas of Ethiopia. And so what I'm going to do now is let Dr. Shalemi take you through the rest of it, the story.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's very hard to be the last speaker, particularly standing between you and your lunch. Although the chairman is away, I will not take more than the time given. Well, what I want to tell you here is the collaboration between Hawassa University and University of Saskatchewan. It started in October 1997. Only two people, one soil scientist from this side, another soil scientist from the other side, talk on bringing together and working together on certain issue of increasing productivity. I was there from the very beginning, since 1997. During this time, we have had 6 successful projects, mainly focused on curriculum development, training graduate students. Like in the past 6 projects, 91 MSc, and we had 10 PhDs. Some of them still are working in the agriculture, Canada. Here, means some are instructors, some are working in soil survey, different aspects. But the majority are working in the country, actually. Within this project, the current project, we have, again, 18 MSc and 2 PhDs. So research, staff exchange were the main focus. The work on pulse productivity started in 2010. Why? As Dr. Carol mentioned, at that time, one of our colleagues did her PhD studies on children in southern Ethiopia, where she found zinc deficiency, iron deficiency, where is a major problem, including protein. So we said, what can we do to address this issue, to address this problem? Then we started working on pulse. We developed project proposal and we got funding. That is how we started with pulse. Not only chickpea and haricot bean, but also faba bean, lentil, and I think faba bean and lentil were included. We have some results, so good results, then, which I'm going to talk only a little bit. I'm going to give you only summary. Then some of the results were so good that IDRC also helped us to start the pre-scaling up, promotion or promoting chickpea technology in southern Ethiopia. Then the call one was 2010, then we got call 3 in 2012, and the PACT project. And the 7th project, which we are doing now, scaling up, is based on these 3 past projects. Now, let me just say few things about what were the previous good things. In pre-scaling up, we started the extension system, but which one is appropriate for that area, that region? We also identified high-yielding varieties. We took only, or we concentrate only on chickpea and haricot bean. Which one are good? Are they good really? What about only production? Can we also bring it to sustainable seed production system, delivery system, improve the agronomic and soil fertility management options, like particularly inoculating with local strains of mycorrhiza or rhizobia, integration of pulse-based foods into dietary habits, nutritionally adequate pulse cereal complementary foods, like this one, you see it here. This is a sample outside there. How can we produce this? How can we feed, like using what programs, such as school feeding and others, to benefit the people? And nutrition education. Now, all thing is about biofortification. When I talk about biofortification, it's agronomic biofortification, how to increase the content in the plants, then also increasing or improving bioavailability of it. So that is the main theme. Our theme is linking agriculture to nutrition. These are the research sites for those of you who don't know Ethiopia. It's just in Eastern Africa. From the Ethiopian side, we took only the This is the southern part of the country. Well, just not new things, just only I'll pick few results. Like we did on haricot bean. What did we find? Obviously, there are differences in productivity at different sites. This is not new. But one thing is all introduced varieties, the varieties we brought to that region were superior to the local cultivars. The other issue is by fertilizing with nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, and zinc, the increment in terms of biomass production was not significant. However, the concentration of zinc and iron in the seeds improved, which we are looking for, particularly when we are feeding to the children to increase the zinc content. The other thing also my friends can talk, we try to maximize the productivity of a unit of land. Like when you are growing sole crop and intercrop, definitely by intercropping, grain yield will be reduced for particular crop. That is a reduction. However, if you are talking in terms of efficiency, that is combined productivity, the efficiency was improved, particularly when we use 1:3 raw ratio, about 54% increment. That is what we need in highly populated area. Increment in yield from small area. This is one on chickpea. On chickpea, if you see it here, at different areas, in all cases, the improved varieties, these are very much different as compared to the local cultivars. So that is what we want to benefit the farmers. Bringing in improved variety and improving the productivity of the land. Another issue is like, how do also increase the agronomic biofortification, increment in terms of the concentration. We use different, like applying the fertilizer to the soil, using seed priming, and foliar application. By the way, like microdosing for raw crops, it has been there for 3 decades. It's not new in Ethiopia, for maize, for others. But chickpea and haricot bean fertilization is new, so we apply also microdosing there. Even when it is microdosing, foliar application is by much better, as you can see it here. It's significantly different. However, it may not be recommended for farmers to apply all as leaf application, foliar application. A very new thing, which we are very much proud of, is a PhD student isolated more than 113 local strains for their effectiveness on chickpea. One of the strain, local strain, chickpea 41, was found to be superior, even as compared to the commercial isolate we imported from Canada, and almost equal to 100 kilogram of N application to chickpea, which means still there is a potential, untapped potential, to isolate strains from the local soil and use it. That is what we are also scaling up. Land preparation matters by itself, because in some areas, waterlogging is a problem. In such area, what to do? Are we going to use the broad-based farrow method, region farrow, or flat bed? By applying all these, we found using broad-based farrow about 204% increment in yield, 7.2% when we used region farrow as compared to the flat bed. This is just to remove the excess water from the soil. Harvesting methods, normally the farmers used to pull chickpea and haricot bean while harvesting. But we found this is really removing the nutrients from the soil. So instead of pulling up the crops, if it is cut at the surface, mowing at the surface, the roots are remaining in the soil, increase the nitrogen content and the soil fertility through time. Now bringing together what I've said, what we have observed. High yielding varieties increased yield up to 89% compared to the local varieties. You can see it. That's, I think, the hand of Dr. Carol, where she is holding the new varieties and the local varieties, cultivars. How much they are very much different, even in looking into the pots. The other is, I've already talked about it, intercropping, whereby you increase the unit productivity of land per unit area, and introduction of chickpea in new areas where chickpea production was not considered to be viable. In some areas, for the last 4 decades, they were not producing chickpea. But we have introduced to those areas. What the advantage? The advantage is getting 2 harvests in 1 season. The main crop, cereals, mainly cereal, will be harvested, and after harvesting the cereals, chickpea will be seeded, and we get a double harvest. So you can imagine the amount of income. Like, this is evidence from the field. This lady has removed the maize, the stalks are behind, and on the maize field she has planted chickpea, so she gets double harvest from the same area. The other lady here is a lady for the first time growing chickpea and harvesting it. That I took only 2 of them. They are very much happy about the practice we are introducing there. Not only the agriculture, maybe my friends can talk more, the nutrition aspect also. The nutrition aspect, particularly processing nutrition. Application of germination in complementary food. Mixing maize with bean. Preparation of flatbread. And processed products showed significant, I hope it's working, yeah. Processed products showed significant reduction in phytate. Maybe experts can talk about why phytate reduction is very important. And doing this, there is no significant difference in sensory attributes of porridge. Not only this, what about the nutrition education? By educating people, women, actually all these are women in this project. What happened? What happened to the mean square of knowledge and practice? You see, in both cases, knowledge mean score, practice mean score, as compared to the control group, the intervention group within 6 months, it's increased. So people started eating pulse, incorporating pulse into their daily diets. Now, these are all what we did with the previous project. Now, I'm left with only a few slides, Mr. Chair. How do we scale up, the scaling up, the 7th project, which started in 2015? What are the innovations? We put together the results into 2 packages. The first one, best performing varieties, agronomic practice, soil management practice, including rhizobium inoculation. We put it as package of practice and seed. The other one, nutritious pulse-based complementary food. Pulse-based complementary foods like snacks, you have seen it here, recipe and processing methods, nutrition education, improved nutrition health, and all these nutritious pulse-based food products. So those we grouped into 2 innovations. Our target, the objective is to reach 70,000 farm households. So what do we use in these farm households, children especially under 5, women, male and female farmers? We also brought on board government extension system, health extension workers, development agents. There is also what we call 1 to 5 development army in our country. And the Regional Bureau of Agriculture and Health, research organizations, private sectors, NGOs, and CG centers are all involved to reach this target. So, main thing are adopting short duration, high yielding, disease resistant and drought tolerant. Not only drought, even too much moisture tolerant crops. Adoption of low cost agronomic package, nutrition education, actually using farm radio, home visits, market and value chain. We have a consultant among us who are doing business model for us. Which business model should we follow? And gender mainstreaming were the main activities. Now here, multi-component project. We need multi-stakeholders. So we have agronomic package, we have nutritious pulse-based food in order to reach the target 70,000 people. But then we have our partners, very much interlinked. The first inputs, supply, seed, dissemination, research, training, product development, like here, the seed enterprise, the private inoculum producer, cooperative federation, Bureau of Agriculture. Then we have also in dissemination Bureau of Agriculture, Bureau of Health, our faculty, researchers, graduate students. On product development, communication value chain, we have the private guests agro, ICRISAT. ICRISAT is not only involved here, as you see, they are also involved in training and also research. The private company, Shashone, Postdocs, and Farm Radio International. We use all these partners in order to reach our target, the 70,000. Achievement. Our target was 70,000. We have directly reached 36,000 out of the 70 with improved varieties, site-specific agronomic and soil management practice. Actually, we have covered an area of about 1,000 hectares. In addition to this, more than 7,000 households were reached also in terms of nutrition education. These are the direct beneficiaries. Indirectly, we have also with Farm Radio International, the target is 135,000. They are working on it. I don't have the exact number to tell you now. In fact, I don't also have the exact number what has been produced. We are working on that. How much has been produced? How much income is improved? We are working on this. But we have research with graduate students, MScs, PhDs. This is a figure showing the number. As you see, most of our work is in 2016. In 2015, the main problem, the main challenge was drought. Otherwise, we could have reached over 50 or 60,000 by now. But there was a drought problem in 2015. That's why the number was low. Another achievements are research. Some of them are completed, like social learning and social works. Its influence on technology adoption, social, cultural, and gender dynamics. It has started, we are still working on it. Dissemination of legume-based agricultural technologies and nutrition interventions. Actually, our partner ICRISAT is doing on this. Site-specific variety selection, use of blended fertilizers, like for micronutrients. Although we are not using foliar application, we are now applying blended fertilizers that contain micronutrients in order to improve the content. Gender and applying appropriate business models and linking farmers to the market, that is input and output market. That's what we are working. Where we have now at least 2 products developed, and in very month or 2, we are going to produce and maybe disseminate using school feeding programs and other means to reach more farmers, particularly with snacks and others. All what I talked as summary, so I'll end my talk with challenges we've made. Some of the challenges are maybe you can consider it positively, but some are actual challenge, like the late onset of rainfall, poor distribution in 2015, It affected both haricot bean and chickpea production. That was why the number was so low, very low. So drought stress also after emergence during the growth of chickpea. Another issue. That was 2015, which was a bottleneck, which kept us very low, the number. In 2016, in 2015 it's El Nino. In 2016 we had La Nina. Too much rain. Too much rain and flooding. But the good thing I can tell you is the variety we have selected was the only one with good performance. All other varieties failed because too much rain, the leaf in contact with the soil, and they decomposed. But our selected variety, although our intent was not for that, it stood erect and we got our production. That is one of the reasons that why every farmer is now asking for Hawassa Dumi, haricot bean. The other is inflation, actually. I hope you know. Due to inflation, there is an increment in the price of seed, fertilizer. That is just holding us back not to reach many farmers. The other important issue is the demand exceeds the resource. Even the radio listeners, the people where I'm going to the field, they are asking us for seed. More seed, give us the seed, introduce your innovations, but we cannot reach everybody. We are trying to do, maybe we are trying to encourage farmer-to-farmer exchange and others, but we couldn't reach. And finally, the theft. Theft is, for me, it's positive actually. What do they steal? They steal to take the seed. In the field, like our seed producers, they are in groups, and one person has to stay overnight in the field. The reason is because if they don't stay there, everything will be removed from the field. That theft is because we are introducing the good seeds. And this one, you see, I like this one always. Vision, hard work. You can imagine how those goats got up there. Those who have worked hard, they are on the top, eating the nutritious growing points. But the ones down here are still looking into the sand. If we work together, hard working, we can reach our target. Thank you very much.